So we'll start with the case study, the first one. Okay, now see here in this year, like what we have seen before in 2019, it was very very small and simple case studies in 2019. But here you see this is very lengthy and reading itself will take a lot of time for you. Okay, so I'll quickly read it out. Rakesh is a responsible district level officer who enjoys the trust of his higher officials, and because of that, the government gave him the responsibility of identifying the beneficiaries under a healthcare scheme meant for senior citizens. So we are going to talk about a healthcare scheme which is given for senior citizens, and he was entrusted with this duty because of his honesty, a proven honesty. Okay, now some conditions are there. Okay, now it is not necessary that you need to read these conditions at this point of time. One day, an old couple visited Ragesh's office with their application. They have been the residents of the village in his district since their birth. The old man is diagnosed with a rare condition that causes obstruction in the. Okay, some issues there. So let's look into the condition also. There is a condition that's 60 years of age. So here we are talking about old man. So mostly that will be satisfied, and we have to confirm that belong to reserve community. Income criteria is there, and post treatment prognosis likely to be high to make a positive difference to the quality of life of the beneficiary. Okay, so these four conditions. Okay, now as a consequence, he has severe abdominal pain, and frequently that prevents him from doing any physical labor. So he's not able to do any job. So here you see one important element which has to come beyond this rules is something what we have studied, that is compassion or empathy. So even if he doesn't satisfy these conditions, you have to do something based on that, or the Sarvodaya principles that we have discussed, that serving even the last man is very important even though he's not satisfying the condition. So he is in need, definitely. Okay, the couple has no children to support them. The expert surgeon whom they contacted is willing to do the surgery without charging any fee. So the surgery will be getting it done without any fee, but the couple will have to bear the cost of incidental charges like medicines, hospitalization, and everything. And that will come around 1 lakh rupee. The couple fulfills all the criteria except criteria B, that is, they don't belong to the reserve community. However, any financial aid would certainly make a significant difference in their quality of life. So any support is going to be very beneficial for them, and that is going to create good for them. So that is one thing that we need to take care. But here it doesn't matter whether what condition he is not satisfying some of the condition. That is what more important for us. So as per the rules, you should not go with that. You have to follow the procedure. That is very important. So here you will have to talk about, as a bureaucrat point of view, there should be something that we need to follow. That is the procedure. The procedure established by law, or the procedure which is discussed here, has to be followed. That means you have no right to violate any of the condition. You cannot override on this, and you cannot give any special consideration for that person just because they're old age or anything. But at the same time, you should be taking care of that person. For that, what you need to do is what you need to think here. Okay, so on one dimension, you have to tell that as a responsible bureaucrat who was entrusted with this charge, you have to do your duty as a bureaucrat that has to make sure that rule of law or the procedure established by law will go on. And it is your duty. That is a deontological thought. Okay, deontology, or this is basically to ensure transparency. You can talk about all these transparency and accountability. So in all these means, why these rules and regulations and these criteria are there, so that there can be transparency, there can be accountability, proper identification of beneficiaries. But even then, there may be exclusion errors. For example, any programs, any policies of the government, it is not necessary that the needy people will get the benefit. For example, OBC reservation is there, but it is not necessary that the needy people are getting the benefit. Even in the general category also, people who are supposed to be very poor and pathetic than the OBC are supposed to get the benefit, right? So the question here is needy people versus serving only the eligible beneficiary. So here, this is the question here. Are you going to serve only the eligible beneficiary, or are you going to do something for the needy people? But see, as per law, as per this case, you have limitation in doing this. You have limitation in helping that person because he doesn't satisfy this condition. So as a bureaucrat, what is deontological thought that we have discussed? You have to follow the duty. And what is your duty as a bureaucrat? You are entrusted with this case or this implementation of the scheme because of your integrity and honesty. So as a bureaucrat, you have to follow that. You have to strictly follow or adhere to the conditions laid down or the rules and the procedures. So this is in relation to ensuring transparency and accountability and every other things, right? So corruption free. So this has to be followed, but at the same time, what you need to do for the this needy people. So that is very important. So first part, you will say that as a bureaucrat, what you will do in this situation, that you're going to follow the law strictly, but at the same time, you have to look for exceptions, right? Is there any exceptions in the same law or the same program? In case if there is an exception to help the needy people, is there any such clause to help the needy people? Then you will try for that. If no such exceptions, then you can talk to the higher officials. So you can see, these are the steps that you can remember. First, you will try from your side. You will try to see the law. If the I'm not talking about loopholes, I'm talking about exceptions. Okay, so there may be exceptions which is given in the law, maybe like 5% maybe given for such kind of exceptions, or 10% would have been given for this kind of exception. So we will look for those exceptions which may be part of the program. If not, you have to talk about you have to talk about this to your higher officials and see whether you can get any such kind of permission, and you can implement or you can help those all people, because they have no other way. Or even if they are not willing to, or they are not able to help, then you can discuss with the concerned ministry or the minister at the higher level. But see, anything you are doing at this level, first you have to try from your side, from your end, what can be done. Okay, so all the possibilities have to be exhausted, and only then you go at the higher level. So within your department, you are the king, so you can take care of that. Okay, so first you have to exhaust all the possibilities, then go with the higher officials, then go with the minister. And if that is also not possible to accommodate in this scheme, try any other scheme where these people can be incorporated or they can provide any benefit. Okay, so that is what you need to do. Or there may be any schemes like PM relief fund will be there, or CM relief fund will be there, or any maybe MP schemes will be there, MLA schemes will be there. See, some part of these schemes will be definitely given for this kind of medical emergencies and medical assistance. So some of these funds will be used for that. So check whether there is a provision and there is any possibility to help in that way. So that you will do, and then you can say, if that is not possible, you can seek the help of NGOs. And if you can do some assistance and you can help them with the help of NGOs, or you can go for crowdfunding, or you can appeal to the people and you can be a facilitator, so that you can help these needy people, because already it is crystal clear that they don't have children to take care of them, and he is not able to do any such job also. So it is your responsibility to help the needy people. So here, what all ethical elements has to be there? Firstly, we will have to talk about deontology. Where deontology we are discussing when you are implementing, when you are doing your duty without any problems or without any excuses. Okay, so duty have to be done well, procedure has to be followed. It doesn't mean what is the outcome. You don't look for the outcome, you have to follow this. On the other hand, you also have to do something with this compassion. On this ground, you will be doing all those things that we have discussed from your end. Okay, so you will try to do yourself, you will try to find any exceptions, you'll talk to the seniors, you'll talk to the concerned ministry, and then you can use any other funds which is available, any other schemes which is available. You can go with the public also, you can go with NGO also. Okay, so all these are the points you can mention. Now see, these are general things which I have told you. anything innovative is coming to your mind at that spot, you need to do that. Okay, so there is no limits in writing any innovative answer. If something is good coming, and that will definitely get rewarded. Okay, so everything has to be transparent here. So that is what you need to write here. So the last man standing in the last row should be served, and he also should be getting the benefit, right? Anything you want to add here? uh, Anything innovative, some this kind of situation if you need to, but see, always try to follow this general things. At least minimum you need to do that, because you won't get enough time. Or you see, this is a very long case study, you need to read so much. And in the coming question also, you will see that it's going to be very long. These case studies are very long. Okay, so time is going to be very important, but something good idea is coming to you, that will be always appreciated, and that will be rewarded also. Okay, so we'll go to the next one. As a senior officer in the ministry, you have access to important policy decisions and upcoming big announcements such as road constructions projects before they are notified in the public domain. So you'll come to know many things, okay, regarding the government projects. The ministry is about to announce a mega road project for which the drawings are already in place. Sufficient care was taken by the planners to make use of the government land with the minimum land acquisition from the private parties. Compensation rate for the private parties was also finalized as per government rules. Care was also taken to minimize deforestation. So all these things have been already finalized, and you know about this. Once the project is announced, it is expected that there will be a huge spurt in real estate prices in and around that area. Obviously, that will happen. Okay. Meanwhile, the minister concerned insists that you will realign the road. See, something which is already designed and prepared, now you need to realign the road in such a way that it comes closer to his 20-acre. See, this is how the road is planned. Okay, the project is planned, and minister has some land here. So what he is saying is, rather than going like this, so that minimum environmental degradation, minimum agricultural land will be you know acquired, you go like this. This is what the minister is asking. So it will be having huge cost in implementation. This much extra cost is coming, that much extra procurement of land is coming, that much compensation is coming, that much agricultural land will be wasted. Okay. And okay, he also suggests that he would facilitate the purchase of a big plot of land in your wife's name at the prevailing rate, which is very nominal. So what is the current price? In that price, you will also get the big plot in and around the proposed project, so that you will also get the benefit, and he also will get the benefit. He also tried to convince you by saying that there is no harm in it, as is you are doing it legally. He even promises to supplement your savings in case if you don't have money. He will also help you. However, by the act of realignment, a lot of agricultural lands has been acquired. So a lot of agricultural land will be wasted because of that acquired before it was very well planned, and thereby causing a considerable financial burden on the government. So it is going to affect the government also. So the larger public interest is actually in question here. Okay. This is a question of your benefit, personal benefit versus larger public interest. And also the displacement of the farmers. If you remember, yesterday also we have discussed this topic, development versus displacement. But this displacement we are talking about, it can be more in case if you divert the project. Okay. Or otherwise also, already there is a possibility of displacement of some farmers. Now the number of farmers who's going to be displaced will be more. So once more displacement, more resettlement, more compensation. Okay. And all these are going to be big issue. As if this is not enough, it will involve cutting down large number of trees. Okay. That means environmental issue will be there. So here, what are the issues? You can see here, agricultural land will be the agricultural land. So you can list down agricultural land is an issue. This is something which you need to talk in your answer. Financial burden on government, that is another issue. And then farmers will be affected, that is another issue. So here you need to talk about the compensation, resettlement, financial resettlement, physical resettlement, emotional resettlement, social resettlement, and everything, and the environmental issues. These are the four dimensions that you need to discuss. And let's see the question. Faced with this situation, what will you do? Now, obviously, here you have nothing much to write here, because obviously you're going to not going to do this. Okay, so there is nothing to innovate or to say anything. You're not going to do this at any cost. Now, critically examine various conflicts of interest and explain what is your responsibilities as a public servant. So, do you think that you have any conflict of interest here? See, in real sense, if you ask me, if the question is about the order of the superior that you need to follow, but at the same time, larger public interest, maybe for the sake of saying, I can say that is a conflict of interest. But in my opinion, there is actually no conflict of interest here, because in front of you, it is a larger public interest is what matters. On the other hand, who's standing? Just a minister. Okay, so he is having his own personal interest, and it cannot be a situation of conflict of interest actually. But still, in case if that is what they mean to ask here, then that is the point you can write. The conflict of interest is like a superior order that you are not able to follow versus the larger public interest. That is a conflict of interest that you need to discuss here, but that's not a big conflict of interest to write. Okay, so here, what is the ethical issue? There's the personal benefit versus larger public interest. Or you can also talk about transparency and accountability versus misuse of official position. Okay, now this is also a kind of corruption. Why? Because now these are the dimensions that has to come to your answer. Why it is corruption? This is a kind of collusive corruption. Why? Because two people are committed. Now you are getting benefit out of it, right? He is offering you also land at a minimal cost, and you know that the price is going to increase. So what is that difference? Let's say you are getting it for 1 lakh, and this is going to be 10 lakh. Okay, let's say 10 acre. So this 90 lakh that you're going to get is extra. This is, do you think this is almost like insider trading? Right? If insider trading is purely illegal, this is also like that only. This is a pure clear case of corruption. You know that this is going to happen, and to fulfill your personal interest and also misusing your position for the benefit of your senior is a clear case of corruption. Okay, so that also has to be there in your answer. Okay, and here your objective should be what? Land acquisition should be very minimum. And in fact, based on the previous plan, if you go for, see here, you don't want to discuss too much. Everything is already fixed and decided, right? There is already a previous plan which is perfectly planned with minimum land acquisition, minimum damage to farmers, minimum environmental cost, and everything. So actually, you have nothing to tell here in this answer. If you logically think, you only need to tell in this answer how you're going to tackle the minister. Everything else has to go according to the plan. Then you see, you don't want to talk about what I can do, for example, environmental impact assessment, just for the sake of saying. You may need to say, but otherwise in this question, that is actually not the demand, because everything is there in the question itself. Everything is pre-planned. You just need to go with the plan. So for that, what you need to do, you only need to convince the minister. So what you need, that for that you need persuasion, right? You have to go with persuasion. You have to convince the minister like that. You also make him aware that the legal consequences in future. You also have to make him aware that the financial burden that the the of the state. Okay, it is your responsibility, even though he may be knowing all these things, but when you're writing the answer, you have to tell that as a responsible civil servant, you will be convincing the minister about the consequences. Firstly, the legal consequences. Secondly, misusing the official position. Thirdly, the financial burden that the state is going to face. And all these you can list down. And you will go for the method of what? Persuasion, right? And what is the ultimately for the all these project, what is the end goal? End goal for any government project is ultimately what? Welfare of people. The larger public interest have to be taken care. So if you need to take care of the larger public interest, this is purely private interest, right? Individuals, that ministers interest, so that has to be taken care. That should not be done. And it is also your fundamental duty, what? To protect environment. Forget about you as a civil servant. It is otherwise also your fundamental duty to protect environment. So that also need to be taken care. And you have to make him aware that it is a fundamental duty to protect environment. At the same time, it is a fundamental rights of many people to have a right to life and everything. So when you're doing this, it is going to affect the fundamental right of the people. And as a responsible civil servant, you have the obligation to protect the fundamental rights of the citizens of the country. Okay. So at the lowest level, you have to protect. If not, only they have to go to the court and everything. And it is not the case that everybody can go to the court and get justice, since this expensive and costly court procedures. It is impossible. Okay, so I hope all these things you can mention in your answer. Tolerance is one of the most important virtue. Temperance is also one of the virtue. Justice, you need to talk justice for the public, the farmers, and also courage is required. All these virtues have to be, you have to write, these are the virtues which is required as a civil servant. Courage, or you can use the word fortitude. We discussed that when we discussed about Plato, right? Justice, justice for the public. You have to show extreme courage here or fortitude here so that you can convince the minister. Okay, persuasion, you should have that capacity also. And you can say that if you go with this project as per ministers say the conflict of interest is very simple here. You have to obey the superior. That is a conflict of interest. Now, otherwise, what is going to happen here? What is going to happen here? Maximum, we have discussed this, the politicization of bureaucracy, right? The transfer, right? Transfer. The tools in their hand is basically the transfers and postings. So you may get a transfer from this post to, they may be transferred to some other post. That is a maximum, or maybe some minor, just for the namesake, some departmental inquiry will be conducted because you are not obeying the minister. If not in this reason, some other reason, they may conduct that. But ultimately, what is going to happen to a civil servant if they cannot prove anything? Then it is very difficult. There are laws to protect you. So you don't worry, you don't want to think of all those things. Here, what is more important is the procedure established by law and also your conscience. What your conscience say, that is very important. Okay, so otherwise, this is the inner guiding principles, right? Conscience. So you have to go with that. You as a civil servant, it is your responsibility. Or you can also use this term cognitive resonance, right? Cognitive resonance means you have something in your mind and you are forced to do something else. That situation is what cognitive resonance. So you can say that also, that is going to be the part of this. It is basically nothing but conflict of interest only. Okay, so now what I've told you, so much of things I've told you, but all these is not required and you will not get enough time. You cannot tackle such demands of the ministers. Once the ministers know that you are a person who's not going to follow or go with those kinds of demand, automatically it will come down. So what is required is long time. You need to build your reputation, and that is different part that is not asked in this question. In this question, what you will do? What you will do is you will go with the initial project. You are not going to listen to the minister. Okay, because it is actually a corruption which is demanded. It is an illegal demand of the minister. We don't want to follow the illegal demand. So there is no question of following the illegal demand here. And you have to make sure that the land acquisition is minimum, which is already decided. Okay, otherwise this there's a bigger problem. No, political the nexus between, you can also say, the current society is also facing the problem of nexus between political executive versus the bureaucrat. And if you remember, there was a question last 2019 paper. We have discussed this during 1950s and 60s and 70s. Their relation was so good. Now that has been changed, and we have discussed answer for that. So here now the current day, this politician versus politician bureaucrat nexus is there, and that is going to create a lot of problems. That is going to affect the larger public interest, that lead to corruption, that lead to wastage of resources. All these issues are there. Okay, so you as a responsible civil servant, you don't want to deprive whom? You don't want to deprive the farmers. You have to protect them, and you don't want to make maximum cost for environment. So minimize the environmental degradation, minimize land acquisition. Okay, all this is what you need to do. Okay, make sure that the fundamental rights of the people are protected, minimum damage for the environment, farmers have been protected, and the rules have been followed. That's a deontological approach. So then you need to say what you will do. Clearly, you have to say you will not obey this order. Okay, and for that, definitely you need what? Courage, fortitude. Okay, and you will also have to convince him the damage which is going to be caused by the new plan and the legal issues that may be coming in the future. So all these things has to be there in your answer. So main key principles here is justice with the public. Okay, and courage is required, persuasion. These are the main points.
Sir,
Tell me.
hello, sir. Is it amount to a? What can you say, sir? Without giving in written order, without giving any written order, can it be considered as an order, and that too it amounts to an disobedience?
No. It won't amount to disobedience. It is personal. But the point, what I'm saying is, you're talking about departmental inquiry that may be conducted for some other manipulated reasons. For this, they can't do anything.
Okay.
But they can do this promotion, postings, and everything. No. Okay. Next is a direct question. So, in a state where prohibition is in force, you are recently appointed as the SP of the district, which is notorious for illicit distillation of liquor. The liquor leads to many deaths. That means it is creating a lot of social damages, reported and unreported, and causes a major problem for the district authorities. The approach till now had been to view it as a law and order problem and tackle accordingly. Okay, so law and order problem means you conduct the raids, arrest, police cases, and criminal trials. But all these had only limited impact, and the problem remains same. Your inspections show that the part of the district where the distillation flourishes are economically and industrially and educationally backward. So because of this, there is no industrial development, or we cannot say here completely because of this area is economically backward, this area is industrially backward, this area is educationally backward. So what you can do is in your solution, if they're asking for your solution, you have to tell something. How can you improve this situation? Okay, how can you improve this situation? Especially, how can you improve this situation? Maybe you can discuss about self-help group or NGOs. Okay, like that. Okay, but keep in mind these things has to be reflected in your answer. Agriculture is badly affected, so you also need to tell how can you improve agriculture by poor irrigation facilities. So you can say maybe some MGNREGA fund or MGNREGA work can be done so that the irrigation facilities can be made, so that the agriculture can be made well, so the economy will get better. Like that you can say. I'm just saying the possibility. Frequent clashes among the communities gave boost to illicit distillation. So there are conflicts and issues which are going on. No major initiatives had been taken place in the past, either from the government side or from the social organization, to improve the life of the people. So here, new approach will you adopt to bring the problem under? That means you don't, you may write one line about this, but you don't want to talk about, I'm going to do this police cases, proper investigation, proper trial. No, they're talking about new approach. Means in another way, it is an innovative approach also. So it doesn't mean that you have to strictly follow the rules just as a police officer. Okay, you are an SP, so you have a lot of powers there, not only with respect to policing, but there are many other powers is also available to you. Okay, so here this is very important, which I would put it in this way: which innovative measures will you adopt to tackle the problem? Now see, this is completely open to you. You may be in a position to give very good answers here. There is no need for me to tell you, but what I can do is I can suggest you how in general you need to answer this question, and anything more than that, whether you can improve upon that, is all up to you. Okay, so here, what are the main problems? Already prohibition is there in the state, but illicit distillation of liquor is there. What is that? Is already illegal. So illegal activity or illegal distillation of liquor when the prohibition is in force. So obviously you can take legal action. There is no question about that. Secondly, this raid, arrest, and all this are having no impact. Thirdly, what we have discussed is economically, industrially, and educationally backward. And fourthly, we have discussed that agriculture is poor, okay, and because of irrigation problems. And then we have discussed what communal clashes. Okay, so once you read this case, you should have all these things in your mind, and it should reflect in your answer also. So what can you do here? First thing that you need to do is, what is legal here? Already prohibition is in force, and the problem is with illicit, distillation. So first thing that you need to do is implement that prohibition properly. That is, but this is of not a new approach. You can say that you need to write this, obviously, implement that properly, so that you can reduce or decrease the instances of illicit distillation of liquor. That itself may solve some of the problems. Okay, now what new approaches you can focus on here? So this is something which everybody can write, implementation of this. And for this also you can talk about some innovative measures, but new approaches, what all things you can say here. So you go to the question here. You need to do something for this economic empowerment. For that, what you can say is, make some arrangement for this better irrigation facility, so that agriculture can be improved. Like, you can go for this MGNREGA, right? It can be used to improve the irrigation facilities, building some wells or whatever is possible. So what can happen? Agriculture will do well, so economically you can get better. And you can think of some MSME, if there is any possibility of development of any kind of MSMEs, okay, any kind of cottage industry or any such possibilities there, you can think of that also. Okay, some government schemes also, like Nai Manzil or Nai Roshni. So some implementation of the schemes can be done, so that some MSME development can be done well. Educationally, what you can do is, you can talk about some involvement of NGOs, and which will take care of the education properly. So once education is getting better, it will be good for the future also. Okay, so you need to talk about these three. And after that, problem is with the employment opportunity. People don't have the job. So this MGNREGA, if you can use it to solve that problem also. That can be used here. That can be used to solve the problem of unemployment also here. Okay, then use self-help group or NGOs to develop the skills of the people, so that better employment opportunities can be created. Okay, and also you need to say the panchayat institutions has to be strengthened, so that proper implementation of all these will happen. This prohibition will be properly implemented, and if the panchayat is also having better power, and if it is working or functioning properly, then automatically this issue can be solved. Then again, here you need to talk about persuasion. Okay, you need to make the youth aware that the consequences of all these. So persuasion is required, use of emotional intelligence, all these. Okay, and you need to talk to the youth, those people who are not part of this also, and you also have to use the elders. Okay, now anything more you want to discuss here? Because I am expecting that you will have more innovative and better measures than what I can tell you guys. So if you want to add anything here, maybe 1 or 2 minutes we can discuss that also. Okay, now if you remember, when we discussed about the chapter of attitude, we have also discussed about this attitudinal change. So that is also required here. Now, how can you bring attitude change? That we have discussed over there, Pavlovian conditioning, and we have also discussed about reward punishment theory, various theory we have discussed. So how to bring attitude is not important here, because you don't have enough time and space to write. Attitudinal change is very much required here in this context. Okay, though this is related to a big corporate houses engaged in manufacturing industrial chemicals on a large scale. Manufacturing the industrial chemicals. It proposed to set upon the additional unit, but many states rejected its proposal due to the detrimental effect on environment. But one state government acceded to the request and permitted the unit close to a city, brushing aside all opposition. The unit was set up 10 years ago and was in full swing till recently. The pollution caused by the industrial affluence was affecting the land, water, and crops in the area. So that impact is visible now. It was also causing serious health problems to human beings and animals. This gave rise to various agitations where thousands of people took part, creating law and order problems. So you have this law and order problem also because of that now, necessitating the stern police action. Following the public outcry, the state government ordered the closure of the factory. Now, the state government, which allowed the factory to open a unit, now ordered the closure of the factory. The closure of the factory resulted in, this is another issue, unemployment of not only those who were engaged in the factory, but also those who were working in ancillary units. It also very badly affected those industry which depended on the chemicals. So see, this is going to affect. So this part is talking about the economic impact of this. So you should not give your answer one way just by supporting this closure. You also need to understand the other dimension. See, the company started, and it is very difficult to start the company, and you can simply order to close the companies. Closing the company is a easy task, and you got the order. It is very simple for anyone to close the company. But here the problem is with the unemployment of the people and also the other companies which is depending on them. So the other companies also will be affected very badly, and thereby who will be affected? The larger public will be affected. So your solution should not be this closure of the company. Rather, the company has to function, but your solution should be focused on this. We need to tackle this problem. For that, you need to talk about some technological improvement, the management, and all those things. Okay, so let's see what is the question. As a senior officer entrusted with the responsibility of handling this issue, how are you going to address it? Okay, so what all things you need to say here? Either you can say that you're going to, close this down as per the order. Okay, so obviously here several people are directly affected, that we have already discussed. And then it lead to environmental degradation, health issues, also public agitation, law and order issues. All these are there. So what you need to do as a senior officer, you have to control first the law and order situation. You have to control this environment, health, and employment issues also. And you need to go for a proper negotiation process with the involvement of all the stakeholder. Okay, so firstly, at this juncture, at this level, you have to stop all the manufacturing which is done by this company or the firm, because it has been proved that it is going to create very much hazardous issues, right? It is affecting the environment, it is affecting the health and all this. It has been proved. So currently you have to stop it now. Okay, and you also have to take care of the people. You have to go for negotiation. You have to support the people who are affected by this in terms of health. Also, you need to give them medical benefits. Okay, and you obviously have to control this law and order situation, which is also in question. So these are the issues. Environment issues you have to take care. Okay, health issues you have to give some medical aid, some government programs, some government schemes, you have to use that. And then law and order situation has to be controlled here. And a proper environmental impact assessment has to be done, how whether it is feasible to do any changes, any modifications in the technology or anything, and can be continued. Or is there any environmental impact assessment which has been done when the company started at that point of time? That also need to be taken into consideration. Okay, so, and finally, you need to tell that what can be done to tackle this unemployment opportunity, and also the other companies which is going to suffer, because this is going to be a loss of nation, right? Because this is going to affect economically very bad. So this is going to be a big loss. If you start closing down the companies, that is going to affect very badly, and the entire nation will be affected, and the entire public will be affected. But if you can do some modification, upgradation, so what you need to say is upgradation in technology. And with this, you can reduce the impact on health, okay, and reduce the impact on pollution, and you can reduce impact on environment. Okay, so this is what you need to say. And in case if there is a issue, there can be a polluter pay principle also. Polluter pay, and the CSR of this company can be used for the compensation of the farmers. The farmers suffered, okay, there are some health issues, so that also has to be taken care from the company itself. You need to go for compensation. And then proper monitoring of water quality, the air quality, etc., which has to be done on a timely basis. Okay, so here what you're focusing is, obviously if the company is going in this way, since it has been understood that this company is badly affecting and creating these issues, in this way you cannot continue. But making some but that is not the solution, because this is a big issue more than that. Okay, this is also a big issue, so we need to do something like this also. I hope this is clear. So this is how you can bring various dimensions into your answer. You should not only confine to one aspect. Okay, everything else has to be discussed together. Any doubt here?
So there should be some kind of inquiry also, right? In the first place, also everyone was denying this project and the government allowed it.
Yeah, you can say that why, in what context government allowed. Was there any, that I have told you, was there any environmental impact assessment was conducted before, and is it done on the basis of that or not? So that inquiry, you can say that can be done. Okay, now you need to go to the other two case studies and try solving the case study. These two are very simple. In case if there is any issues, we will discuss that tomorrow, and we will discuss tomorrow 2017 question paper. So I'm planning to discuss till 2015, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So we completed 18, 19. Now 15, 16, 17 also will discuss, so that you will get a complete clarity and that confidence. Because if you see the theory papers, theory parts, everything has been discussed in the class. There is nothing which is left out. Secondly, if you see the case studies, there's going to be very simple. Only thing is that how you're going to read and how you're going to interpret and how you're going to answer at that point of time. So that's what all matters. Okay, so just go through that two case studies which is left out. We'll discuss tomorrow. So see you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.